Zohran Mamdani, the mad lad, actually did it. Who could have guessed? I did, motherfucker. Thank you, Zoran, and everyone betting on Andrew Cuomo for the crisp $100 bill. In a political landscape that is full of doom and gloom for the left, we finally got a glimmer of hope. Of course, the right was very quick to remind us that we live in a fascist hellhole full of racists that are just openly terrified of anyone that isn't white. We got one congressman that's even trying to push for the deportation of Zohran Mamdani. Insane stuff. People are comparing Zoran to 9/11 because that's an acceptable thing to do nowadays, I guess. But I'm not here to talk about the right's reaction to Zoran because that's depressing and sad. And I want to continue on this like kind of Zoran hype train that we got going on right now. I am a little late to the Zoran victory party, but I have been following this dude's campaign all year and I'm very excited for his win. Zoran is someone that we're going to be talking about from now until November and probably past November too if he wins the general election, which he probably will. That is, of course, if the Democratic Party doesn't rat fuck him, which it seems like they might do because the Democratic Party is, of course, more afraid of Fox News hosts calling them socialists than they are of losing elections. I am not the first to say that Zoran Mamdani's campaign offers like a new roadmap for Democrats to get elected into office. This race could be a very interesting turning point for the Democratic Party if they do so decide to take the right lessons out of it. And no, Harry, the lesson is not to get on TikTok. It might be a little bit part of it, but that's definitely far from the lesson of the night. Let's first talk a little bit about Zohran Mamdani, Zoran the Destroyer, as Fox News is calling him. Zoran is a 33-year-old Muslim New Yorker. He entered the mayoral race in like October. This was also around the time where Eric Adams, the current mayor of New York, was indicted on charges of taking bribes from a foreign government. Side note, I do hate to say it, but Eric Adams is quite possibly the funniest politician I've ever seen in my life.
This is a place where every day you wake up, you could experience everything from a plane crashing into our trade center to a person who's celebrating a new business that's open.
I first came across Zoran like a lot of people did when he posted this video in November after the election. He was talking to New Yorkers about why they voted for Trump or why they just didn't even vote at all. And there was a common thread in the video, and the common thread was affordability. People voted for Trump because of the economy. This is not new information. We've been knowing this. But what makes Zoran so interesting, he ran on this platform that promises to actually fix your economic hardships in a tangible way, rather than just saying like, hey, the economy is good, look at these data points, or hey, I'm gonna lower the cost of eggs by signing something, I guess. Has anyone been keeping track of the cost of eggs? Does anyone care about the cost of eggs anymore? Kami Mamdani's economic agenda is all about making a New York City that you can afford. Now, what does this mean? Zobros, please join me as we state Zoran's economic agenda in unison. Freeze the rent, fast and free buses, no cost childcare. How's he gonna do it? By raising the taxes on the top 1% of richest New Yorkers. Yeah, baby! Kami Mandani, baby! Finally, we have someone with some actual tangible economic relief and not just providing a tax credit for small businesses or something. Zoran calls himself a democratic socialist. He's a part of DSA. But honestly, if you take a look at Zoran's policies, I feel like they're not really that radical. Freezing the rent, former mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, did that. Free bus fare, there's already multiple cities in the US that have that. No cost childcare, yeah man, I want you to try to tell me why that's a bad thing without sounding like some sort of sociopath. Like, look at this screen grab from Fox News. This shit is hilarious, man. Look how look how scary these policies are. This fucking communist wants to give baby baskets to every newborn. Baby baskets that include diapers and baby wipes and resources on postpartum depression. I mean, we can't even force women to be depressed after giving birth anymore. Fuck, man. Probably Zoran's scariest policy from a right-wing perspective is his idea to make city-ran grocery stores. The whole idea being like grossly oversimplified to the fact that like if the city owned and operated the grocery grocery store. They wouldn't have to worry about turning a profit, and they can, you know, pass the savings on to consumers. That's a grossly oversimplified way of saying it. Zoran also says that the city of New York already spends like millions of dollars subsidizing private grocery companies. Why not just redirect those funds into a public option? This is, you know, super easy for right-wingers to point at and be like, see, man, say goodbye to the concrete jungle where dreams are made of and hello to the Soviet Union. There has been a couple of city-owned grocery stores in America. I do have to say that they didn't really turn out too well. One shut down, one got sold to a private company. But it's also worth noting that these stores were propped up in cities with a population of less than 2,000 people. And New York just has, you know, a little bit of a higher population than that. I don't really see the problem with running a pilot program in New York City for city-owned grocery stores, just to see how it goes, especially if New York is already subsidizing private grocers. Like, redistribute that money somewhere else. But, you know, no matter how scary these policies are to the right, they clearly resonated with a large group of Democratic voters, a large enough group to make Zoran the Democratic nominee over Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, who was favored to win in every single poll. If you're only taking a look at this election through the polls, you would have thought that Andrew Cuomo had this in the bag. If you were watching Mamdani's campaign just a little bit closer than that, then you would have been able to see the momentum that Mamdani was growing in the streets of New York City. Zoran was doing something that it seemed like no other candidate was doing, which was actually building a cohesive movement around his campaign. People were like genuinely excited to go out and canvass for this guy because it was a candidate that they believed would create change in their lives, and it was also a candidate that didn't belong in a retirement home. Zoran Mamdani had 50,000 joyous volunteers going out on their own time, talking to their fellow neighbors, knocking on doors to tell them about Zoran Mamdani. This resulted in 1.5 million doors being knocked on in New York City. Zoran himself was out in New York City all the time. There's obviously that thing that everyone likes to talk about where he walked like the entirety of Manhattan in one night, talking to voters along the entire way, but that's just one of the instances. Like, following his campaign, there was not a single day where he was not out in the community talking to people. To me, this was like the biggest sign that Zoran was gonna win, was the fact that he was actually out in these communities talking to people about how he can make their life better, listening to their struggles, and he had like a literal fucking army of volunteers going out and spreading his message. Of course, you can say that social media was a part of his win too. I mean, like, every single video this guy posted got like millions of views. You know, he obviously knew how to play the game when it comes to social media, but I'm so sick and tired of hearing people talk about, oh, you gotta be on fucking social media if you wanna win elections, man. Like, if Democrats looked at Zoran's election and they just like came to the conclusion that they all needed to move into a content house and start making TikToks every single day, then they are taking away the wrong lessons from this. The way I see it, Zoran's success kind of comes from three main things. Dude's got Riz. I don't use that word unironically, but Zoran, he just got it, bro. He's a charismatic, young, enthusiastic leader, and he doesn't bullshit. He's going to tell you how he feels, and he's going to stand by those policies no matter what. The second thing that helped Zoran is his policies. Of course, we already talked about this. Policies that actually help the working class people in a tangible way. The third thing that Zoran did really well that, you know, ultimately led to his win was the fact that he created that movement behind him. But the thing is that you can't create a movement if you don't have those first two things. Do you think that if Hakeem Jeffries started posting daily TikTok videos that he'd become the most popular person in the Democratic Party? No, dude. Fucking no, of course not. And that's because he's uncharismatic and I don't even know what he stands for. I guess he's just against anything that Trump is for. Being good on TikTok is not the answer to winning the elections or, you know, winning back the trust of your voter base. I know this because there's already elected Democrats that are doing, you know, pretty well on social media. Chris Murphy is the example that I like to bring up in every video for some reason. He does really well on social media, but the Democratic Party still has approval ratings that are down the drain. Holy Toledo! First you need Riz, then you need a message, and then you can move on to TikTok, okay? But if you're missing the first two, then you're missing the whole point as to why Zoran got elected. It is yet to be seen if the Democratic Party will take away the right lessons from this. Of course, I mean, this is only a primary election, meaning Zoran still needs to win the general election, which, spoiler alert, he probably will. And when he does win that election, that might start making bigger shifts in the Democratic Party, especially if when he gets into office, he starts implementing his policies and they are very popular within the city. After seeing what Zoran has done in the past 5 months alone, going going from pulling in single digits to winning by such a large margin that Cuomo dropped out after the first round of a ranked choice voting election. I can't wait to see how much bigger Zoran's movement gets when you give him another 5 months until the general election. And I, like many other progressive Americans, can only hope that the Democratic Party takes away the right lessons from this election. One of those lessons, of course, which I forgot to mention, is to kill all billionaires.
You know what? The new mayor, potentially, of New York is going to freeze the rents, and everybody eats for free, so they don't have to worry.
Really?
Yeah.
But how about the rich?
No.
Do they get shot?
No. Yes.